Okay, now we're going to look at the National Party Convention. Delegates convene to elect the party nominee. Most delegates are pledged to candidates before the convention. Superdelegates are the exception. Therefore, the nomination isn't much of a surprise. It can be, but usually it's not. And media has traditionally covered the conventions. What is the point, the convention's point? Number one is to decide and promote the party platform. They've then formalized their VP nominee. There's press time for important speeches and time for the party to come together and possibly heal from potential wounds from the primaries. They do slaughter each other throughout the primaries. Now it's time to come back around and bring each other up and support the nominee for that party. Independence. Each state has its own procedure for getting on the ballot. Some states are simple, some are harder. States decide. Some require 200 signatures, some require 2%, which could be 52,000 signatures. All right, now, general election. The debates, they are controlled by nonpartisan commission on presidential debates. Many complain that they are too rehearsed, and candidates who do well do have an advantage. Electoral College. All right, the Electoral College is who ends up picking the president. There are a total of 538 electoral votes, as you can see from this slide. 100 come from U.S. senators, 100 come from the U.S. House of Representatives, and 3 come from the District of Columbia. You add those three things up, you get 538. To become president, you need half plus 1. Half would be 269, plus 1 would be 270. You can also go to the website 270towin.com and play some games and kind of look and see how past elections have happened and how the electoral votes have been divided between candidates. We're going to look at an old 2008 map and a newer 2012 map, although both are old. The reason I bring this to your attention is if you look at 2012, you'll notice, for instance, that Texas has 38 electoral votes. If you go back 4 years before that, 2008, Texas has 34 votes. So Texas has gained 4 votes. Ohio has lost 2 votes. They were at 20 in 2008. Now they're at 18. So various states have gained and various states have lost. And this is done after the census on the 10-year, 2010, 2020, 2030. All right, so Electoral College. Everyone votes on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November. You're actually voting for the elector, who then, whoever gets the most votes in a winner-take-all system, they get the electors, and those electors vote for that specific candidate. There's 2 states that are not winner-take-all. That's Nebraska and Maine. But the rest, whoever gets the most votes, they get the electors for that state. So in Indiana, if you had 2 million people go vote, and 1,000,001 voted for Trump, then Trump's going to get all 11 electors that are assigned. So that's a winner-take-all system. California has the most electors with 55, and Wyoming, North Dakota, several other states all have 3, which is 1 House member and 2 U.S. senators. That's the lowest number you can have. Electors are usually longtime party workers. They're expected to cast their electoral vote for the party's candidate for president or vice president. Both the Republican and Democratic Party have 11 electors ready in Indiana, depending on who gets the most votes in Indiana. If the Republican, which they did in 2016, get the most votes, then the Republican Party sends their 11 electors to vote for president. In our entire history, no faithless elector, an elector who doesn't vote for the state's popular vote winner, has ever cast the deciding vote. Whoever gets the majority of the popular vote in the state gets all of the electoral votes. And I was talking about that earlier. Winner take all. So if you get 1 more vote, you get them all. Nebraska and Maine are the exception. In Nebraska and Maine, it's proportional. So they split it up. So in Maine, they have 4. So it could be 0-4, 1-3, 2-2. It just depends on how people vote. First candidate to get to 270 wins the electoral vote. If there's a plurality, meaning nobody gets a majority, which is half plus 1, then it actually goes to the House of Representatives to pick the president, and it goes to the Senate to pick the vice president. That has happened. Andrew Jackson in 1824, he did get the most votes. But with that being said, he actually got the most electoral votes as well, but he did not get a majority. So the voting went to the House, and they did not pick him as president. As far as winning the popular vote and still not winning the election. That's happened actually 5 times now with the Trump-Clinton vote in 2016. Clinton got the most votes popularly, and Trump got the most electoral votes. And because of the Constitution, the way it's laid out, Trump became president. All right, so states with large numbers of electoral votes get a lot more campaigning, unless they're already deemed to go one way or the other. California is usually seen as a blue state, a Democratic state. Therefore, they don't get very much campaigning at all. The states that are high electoral votes with and are also considered purple, which is swing state, meaning it can go either way, they get the most money, the most campaigning that goes to them. Because A, that state can swing either way, and B, it's a lot of electoral votes coming their way if they do happen to win it. All right, I'm going to show you a map right now. This is 2000. This is Al Gore versus George W. Bush. Al Gore is blue. George W. Bush is red. And when you look at that, one state, Florida, came down to just a few hundred votes. Al Gore ended up conceding the state and giving those few hundred votes to George W. Bush, and George W. Bush won the election because of that. So, okay, we're going to switch gears for a second, and we're going to look at mass media and the political agenda. What is mass media? Mass media is a way for media to get out to a massive audience. Television, radio. Internet is probably the fastest growing mass media right now, and one of the probably the highest used as well. High-tech politics is a politics in which the behavior of citizens and policymakers and the political agenda itself are increasingly shaped by technology. We are seeing a lot of that today. Campaigns that use the media well usually win. Media events are events purposely staged for the media that nonetheless look spontaneous. So when you see them, you think, oh, this is spontaneous, thrown together, but it's not. It's staged. Media events can be staged by almost anyone. Image making and news management is important, especially for presidents. If you can't control the message, you can't win. You've got to be able to spin it in your favor. So spin control. So when something's thrown at you, you've got to be able to spin it to make yourself look good and your opponent look bad. All right, so how has media developed? The news media wasn't as important. Now it's very important, especially with social media the way it is. Investigative journalism uses in-depth reporting to unearth scandals, scams, and schemes, putting reporters and politicians opposite of each other. You can think about Watergate. This has made news media more important in politics. Coverage of presidential candidates has become less favorable over time. All right, the print media. This is newspapers and magazines. They were first. Yellow journalism is a sensational style of reporting characterized newspapers at the turn of the century. Pecking order among newspapers, you have the New York Times, which has the largest impact. It's very liberal. And Wall Street Journal, which is more conservative. Then you have broadcast media like television and radio. FDR did his fireside chats, and now you have Donald Trump that does his tweets. It's brought government and politics into people's homes. This is broadcast media. And politicians' appearances and mannerisms are more important. If you look at the Kennedy-Nixon presidential debate, people said that the message of Nixon was stronger at the time, but he looked like he was sweating profusely. He looked like he wasn't in control. JFK looked like he was calm. He was in control of the situation, and therefore that actually favored JFK. Government regulation of broadcast media. We have the Federal Communications Commission, and they regulate, the FCC, they regulate the use of airways in 3 ways. They prevent near monopoly control of the market, controlled by one company. They review performance of stations, and they issue fair treatment rules for politicians. All right, from broadcasting to narrowcasting. This is the rise of cable news channels. So narrowcasting is programming on cable TV or internet that's focused on one topic and aimed at a particular audience. C-SPAN, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. Fox News and MSNBC and CNN tend to be the big ones. Fox News is narrowcasting. They usually bring on conservative commentators that do their shows. CNN, or especially MSNBC, tend to be more liberal. They bring on people that do their shows. Yet resources are limited and stories are not substantive. Same headlines over and over again, and we know that. We see it. All right, so we have news as entertainment. Commentary, that's an expression of opinion. Do not confuse commentary with the news. Fox News is a lot of commentary. I know Fox News commentary doesn't really make sense, but it is. So, for instance, on Fox News, you have Bill O'Reilly, you have Glenn Beck, you have Sean Hannity. Those are commentators that are looking to talk about issues and hopefully make a lot of money, get a lot of viewers, a lot of ads, make a lot of money. The impact of the internet. Potential to inform Americans about politics. People choose what to learn about. Blogs provide additional information. Make sure you're careful of the sources. And some say it's killing traditional print media. You can't always believe everything you read on the internet. I'm sure you've heard that before, and you're hearing it again. But it does give you a good idea, and you can go and you can check your sources. Private control of the media. Only a small number of TV stations are publicly owned in America. Media are totally dependent on advertising revenues. That's how they make their money, advertising. And chains, massive media conglomerates that account for over 4/5 of the nation's daily newspaper circulation. They also control broadcast media. So, reporting the news, finding the news. Beats, specific location from which news frequently emanates, such as Congress or the White House. Trial balloons are an intentional leak, so you're leaking something out just to assess the political reaction, how people respond to that. Reporters and their sources depend on each other for stories. So, presenting the news. Superficial describes most news coverage today. It's very quick. It's very superficial. Sound bites, they're short video clips just to get people to listen or to draw them in. They can advertise and make more money. Bias in the news. Many people believe that that news is biased in favor of one point of view or the other. Generally, it's not very biased towards a particular ideology, especially ABC, NBC. Now, when you talk about Fox News or MSNBC, Fox News tends to be more conservative. MSNBC tends to be more liberal. And remember, commentary is biased. Horse race journalism. That's reporting the standings in the polls instead of the issues. Like, Trump's in the lead. No, now Clinton's coming up. This can drive the opinion of the voters on superficial value. And people see horse race journalism as a way to get more media attention. All right, the media's agenda-setting function, policy agenda. The issues that attract the serious attention of public officials and other people actively involved in politics at the time. That is policy agenda. Television can affect what people think is important. The media they can influence the criteria by which the public evaluates political leaders. Some stories or events can be made more important, others less important, depending on how they cover it. The media is supposed to be a watchdog. This happens sometimes. They're new proposals are met with skepticism, which restricts the scope of government. If media identifies a problem, it forces government to address it and expands the scope of government. All right, let's summarize this. Media shapes public opinion on political issues and influences policy agenda. Media tells us what we think should be important. That's what they report on, that's what we see, and that's what becomes important to us. Broadcast media have replaced print media over time. Narrowcasting, and that is, like the CNN or MSNBC or Fox News and the internet are further shifting media. Seeking profits, media are biased in favor of stories with high drama. They prefer high drama. They prefer to fabricate things because if they can get more people watching, then they can get more money, and it's about revenue.